When it comes to Zenless Zone Zero, whilst the story has me gripped, there's one other element that keeps me coming back to play the game a lot more than I probably should. And that's the arcade games. I can't lie, I'm one of these guys that will just sit there and will just mindlessly grind like Bizarre Brigade or Snake Duel, and I will just have an absolute brilliant time for like half an hour. But I think that they could do more with this mode, with the arcade mode, and I really do think that there are some cool ideas that they could implement. Now, I'm going for things that are both arcade-style games, but also ones that could also tie into characters, because whilst the arcade games do serve their purpose as their own standalone thing, it is worth potentially tying in characters so that people who maybe don't play the arcade games as much maybe find a reason to start picking them up. So, I have 6 games here, ranging from very, very simple to borderline impossible, but hey, this is my opinion, these are my ideas. Are they going to happen? Hey, nobody thought we were going to get Vampire Survivors, basically, in Zenless, but here we are. There are not endless possibilities, but pretty good possibilities, so let's just get into this. So the first one, I feel like I'd be missing a beat if I didn't bring up a Pac-Man style game, okay, right? Like, when you think arcade games, it's like Space Invaders, which I don't think is like super interesting. I mean, maybe that's one you could do, but it's not on the list here. Or you think like Pac-Man, right? And I think a Pac-Man style game sounds pretty simple to do. And hey, if you want people to play it, I have a really funny idea for this one. You have Ambi as Pac-Man. The rest of the cunning hairs are the ghosts. And the dots that you collect are burgers. All the power-ups are burgers. You know how like Pac-Man has fruit? Replace those with burgers, and there you go. Ambi has a reason to be running around, right? If you want to go down the route of having, you know, characters involved, this would be the Cunning Hairs game, right? Pac-Man. I feel like it just makes a lot of sense. I don't know why, it just does in my head. But if you weren't going to go down that route, you could just have generic assets, right? You could create a whole new character. Maybe this is where Officer Mew Mew comes in and just says, hey, I'm around, this is my game, I don't know. Would it be a game that I think a lot of people would come back to? I mean, there is technically no end to it. You could do like an endless mode where you just go level after level after level like the OG Pac-Man is. You know, you could do like a competitive mode. I don't know how you would do that. Then obviously you could probably have like a leaderboard. Maybe even have a custom title after completing so many levels of Pac-Man, because let's be real here, like I am, there's going to be a lot of people who are going to be title hunting in this game. So, you know, maybe that's the play. Maybe that's the play. Then, this is one that I've mentioned before, but I kind of want to give more thoughts on what it could be. A Streets of Rage style game. So, we have this sort of with the lighter event, which I'm not sure if that's out yet. I'll keep it right. I haven't touched 1.3 of Zenless that much at the moment, so whoops. But I feel like from what we saw from that little snippet, that the building blocks are sort of there for the lighter event, right? So it could be a fun addition to the game if we have it also as a arcade event going forward. Could be Sons of Caledon themed. You know, you could have Lighter as a character, Caesar, Bernice. And then if you wanted to do Lucy and Piper, obviously stuff like this would take a while. I'm not saying we want it in 1.4 or 1.5 or whatever, or like 2.0. But if they wanted to include something like this one would probably be a, hey, it goes Bizarre Brigade and then like this in like a maybe like 5-6 updates time. I don't know, right? This could be a lot of fun because you could have fun bosses, you could have, you know, fun little enemies. It could be like the Vanquishers and whatnot. I feel like there's a lot that could be done with a Streets of Rage style arcade game, be it if you want it to be Sons of Caledon inspired or not. You could just have it based in the Outer Ring if you don't want the characters involved. But yeah, I feel like this one's a fun one. I'm always a big fan of those, like, you know, scroll beat 'em up type games. You know, I played a lot of those Streets of Rage, like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle game. Because there was one like that, wasn't there? I think there's one that came out recently that was like that too, I think, which I haven't played. Scott Pilgrim vs. the Wild is also a fun game like that. The Power Ranger game, and the one that's coming out soon is very similar to that. You know, just sort of like that old school, you know, beat 'em up style game, I think would be a lot of fun. Then we're going to get into the one which I think would probably be a reality, not very, very soon, but I think this one has to be included at some point. A Tricky Towers or Tetris style game, be it the stack and build a tower or just your traditional Tetris style game. I think you're missing a beat by having Snake, but then not having Tetris, right? Like, you know, Tetris, I think, is one of those arcade games that has stood the test of time, and I think if they included it into Zenless Zone Zero and into the arcade mode, I feel like you would have people really grinding it. I really do. This would be Bellabog inspired, if we're going to go down the route of basing it off of factions. Yeah, I like the idea of it being, like, Tricky Towers, and, like, you got, like, Ben in the corner just being like, yeah, bring it down, and Clade is just like, what if you brought in this piece? It's like, no, don't do that, you know, I thought that'd be fun, right? You know, there's a lot of fun that could be done with something like that. Then we have competitive Pong with power-ups. So, we've all played the two-player ice hockey games on our phones or computers with friends. You know, we've had a great time doing that, right? So why not do it for Zenless, you know? Make it an event, make it competitive, you know, you can fight the CPU or whatever. I don't know if any of the competitive things like Snake Duel have actually been real people. Maybe it has been. I honestly couldn't tell you. But you know, like, if you make it competitive, I bet you'll have people trying to be the best at this Pong ice hockey style game, right? Like, if you make anything competitive in these games, people will grind the hell out of them, especially if there's no, like, monetary power-up that you can gain from it, right? Like, you know, if it's a even playing field, it's just a battle of skill, people will play the hell out of this to try and be the best. Then we have, not really an arcade game, these two are more sort of like, I would say bordering on impossible, but we will see, right? These are just ones that I think would be fun. Well, they're both themed. A Papers, Please style game, right? We've already had an event similar to this with PubSec, so why not just make it an arcade game, right? You can scale it down a bit, make it 8-bit. Similar to how Papers, Please are. This would absolutely still be PubSec inspired if you went down that route. Or it could be people going from the Outer Ring to New Eridu, because that makes a lot of sense lore-wise. I think that this would just be fun. You could expand upon the idea of the PubSec event, and you could turn it into a fully fledged arcade game. I think that's probably one of the big talking points of this video is, there are a lot of events that Zenless have done that have been pretty decent, right? I know I rag on the events all the time, right? But there have been some that have been, okay, these are cool. What if we made them an arcade game, fleshed them out just a little bit more, and then just made it a permanent thing? I find that'd be a lot of fun. I think a Papers, Please one would be probably one of the lower ones on the list. I just wanted something PubSec related, right? Just so that people don't go, what about PubSec? I'm going to keep it real, Section 6 is not on here, just because I don't think we know enough about them just yet to, you know, do that. If they were going to have one, it'd probably be Space Invaders. Let's be real. I feel that's kind of fitting. Maybe. I don't know. But then we get on to the impossible, right? I just wrote this down as like a Hail Mary. This would be absolutely incredible just because of what, I was thinking of when I thought of the Victoria Housekeeping Company. A Castlevania style game. This one would be the one that takes a hell of a lot of time, right? And if they were going to do it, then we're not going to get anything in between, like Bizarre Brigade and then whatever this is. I just wanted to chuck this in here because, you know, I've had a game for pretty much every other faction except for the Victoria Housekeeping Company, and I really wanted one that would suit them, right? And when you look at them and you look at their style, you know, Von Lycans, the Wolfman, you've got, like, Ellen, who's a bloody shark girl, you've got Corin, who's Frankenstein, you've got Rena. Rena gives me witch vibes, but I swear somebody said that she's I don't know, she's either a witch or a vampire, but either way, they're basically Halloween coded, right? Like, basically Halloween, spooky, kind of like that sort of like early horror scene type beat, right? Basically, so why not give them a game that's literally just horror based, right? And that's Castlevania, because the only other one I can think of is like, what is it, either the Nightmare on Elm Street or Friday the 13th SNES game, right, where they're just running around, and I do not want to play that in any form. So Castlevania would be sick, right, because you could either play as one of them, or they're all of the bosses for it, or you can select one of them. I know a bit about Castlevania, but I don't know a lot about it, and I do think that this would be a really fun one. Do I think it's going to happen? Absolutely not. But I just wanted to chuck this one out here because why not? You know, like, hey, Castlevania is a sick game. It's one of those ones where I feel like you've got to really appreciate the vibe of it. And I'm not someone who at the moment could sit down and play Castlevania. So, you know. Let me know what you guys think. Do you think any of these have a shot? Are there any, like, arcade games that you're potentially looking forward to them potentially adding, right? Do you have any ideas? Do you have one for Section 6? Because I chucked out Space Invaders. Maybe somebody else is more tapped into the arcade scene than I am, and maybe they're going to go, no, you're wrong, it's got to be this for Section 6. Or maybe any of the other groups you go, no, this one's way more fitting for them. Let me know, and yeah, see ya.